Welcome to GameCube Prison, Episode 4. It's a retrospective series in which we try to grasp the GameCube by its cute little handle and figure out what made it such a cool system. I'm Ludwig Kitzman from Games Radar Plus, joined by Anthony John Agnello, and this time we're looking at a strange game.
Yes, it is the only GameCube game that is primarily about yelling at balls.
This is Odama, also known as what happens when you combine feudal Japan with pinball. Explain to me, Anthony. Explain to me.
Letty, there is no properly describing Odama. Even when you're actually playing the game, you still can't totally believe that it's real. It's the brainchild of Ute Saito, who is also the creator of Seaman for Dreamcast. Right. Yeah. That. Less strange on the surface, Odama is still weird as hell. While you're ostensibly playing the role of a general conquering nearby fiefs in 16th century Japan, you're doing so not just by pushing an army across opposing forces, but by crushing them with an enormous divine ball known as the Odama.
As you do.
Right, like so. And also, your army, in a moment of sort of meta glory for any game on the GameCube, your army is trying to preserve the Nintendo, which is translated as the way of heavenly duty.
This game also came with a microphone, allowing you to control your troops swarming the battlefield with a few vocal commands, and there are also flippers at the base of the battlefield, which allows you to bat the crushing ball of death, destroying troops and obstacles in the way. So, number one, that's convenient. Number two, I get a feeling talking about this game, because it highlights the more eccentric side of GameCube, is why it's on GameCube Prison.
Yeah, I mean, you really talk about Odama all these years after it came out because of its charms and its quirks. It does not really thrive on a technical level. The microphone actually works great, but otherwise it's kind of horrendous. It's ugly. There are almost PlayStation 1 level character models and textures in the environment, and achieving the most basic goals early in the game, like getting through the stage, is really, really hard. The game doesn't make it abundantly clear how to do what you need to do. It tells you what you need to do, but it doesn't tell you how to do it. You will die and go back to the stage select screen many, many times, very, very quickly, because as soon as that Odama falls between your pinball flippers, it's an automatic failure at the beginning.
Pro tip, don't drop the ball.
Don't drop the ball. Even at its most flawed, Odama still offers you moments unlike anything else on the GameCube. Like when your advisor starts laughing at you when you fail within seconds of starting a stage. This, like, old Japanese man will literally start laughing at you, and you'll see subtitles that go, ha 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 ha.
So beyond just the game being very eccentric, I think it highlights exactly the kind of console exclusivity that we're talking about, the kind that keeps games trapped and without the ability to find a new audience years later. Because to enjoy this game, to enjoy Odama, you need several layers of specific hardware just to play it. You need a hard copy, you need the microphone, which wires into the memory card slot on the GameCube. And I'd also say that the game is in some ways exclusive to the time period in which it came out, because I just don't see a game like this coming out anymore. I just don't see anyone committing the resources to do it justice.
And even if they did, it wouldn't be on a home console like the GameCube. It would come out on something, that had audio inputs built into it. You would play it on an iPhone, you would play it on a Nintendo 3DS, something that could accommodate it. But even though it's way more awkward to play Odama on a GameCube rather than something that, has a microphone natively in the device, it's still actually worth playing. Despite all of, the graphical flaws and the difficulty, it's still so funny. And it's actually a really good pinball game once you start to get into the flow of playing it.
It sounds like we need to get the pinball effects people on this. But if I had to choose one studio that is still keeping the spirit of Odama alive well into the year 2015, I would say it's the Chilean developer of Ace Team, which they're mostly known for Zeno Clash, but they released a game called Rock of Ages, a game in which you pilot a gigantic boulder with a face in a war between empires, and you often got to squash Marie Antoinette with it.
Which is what you always want in every game, regardless of the content.
She's just sitting there eating her cake.
Yep. And then, honestly, if I could have a version of Sonic the Hedgehog where Marie Antoinette said something snide and then you just spun into her, that would be awesome.
You just spun dash her to oblivion.
So next week on GameCube Prison, we're going to swing back into the realm of big-name publishers making unusual stuff for GameCube. After years apart, Square Enix returned to Nintendo's home consoles with a game that bore the name of its most famous franchise, but it also required hardware so specific to play it that it was closed off to all but the most devoted, obsessive players.
Hint, they all had Game Boy Advance link cables.
さすれば親方様、いざ出陣にござりまする。